I'm Lois from Nancy's Notions, and today I'm going to show you how to transfer this soft, comfy sweatshirt into a one-of-a-kind piece of clothing expressing your style. I will be using this book here by Mary Mallory, and we'll be using one of the projects in here to upcycle our sweatshirt. The first thing we want to do is remove the ribbing from the bottom and at the neck opening. Now, I unstitch it. I do not cut it off, because if it's sewn on crooked and you cut it off with a scissors or rotary cutter, you're going to accentuate that unevenness that there is. So I like to unstitch it. Now that we have removed the ribbings, we will need to find the center of the sweatshirt so we know where our V is going to be. And I'm going to do that by laying my ruler on the sweatshirt. And I try to center it down through here, and I'm going to take a white fabric marker, because that is what shows up on this fabric here, and make myself a little mark. Now that I have found the center, I will have to measure down 3 inches from the neck opening. And then I will put a dot there, or a little hash mark, because that is where my V is going to be at. Now I'm using one of the rulers from the Fashion Designer's Kit to make my curve and also to get my V neck opening. And I have lined it up in the shoulders. Here's my 3-inch mark, and I'm continuing across the sweatshirt, because that's where our ribbing is going to be attached when we put it down. So I've got my 3 inches dot here again, and I'm up to my shoulder seam, and I'm going to draw my line, because I will need this for me to put my ribbing on. And see how nicely that shows up? We've got our V now on our sweatshirt. You can use the same ribbing that was on there already, or you may do a contrast. Now, if you need to cut your own, you'll have to cut it 3 inches wide, because it's supposed to be trimmed down to 1.5 inches wide when you put it on and fold it in half. If there's a right and a wrong side, make sure the right side is on the outside. I'm going to start right here in the V, right where the dot is, and I'm going to lay it. The raw edges are going to lay right on the edge, and I'm going to put some pins in here now. Now, as I put it on, I don't want my ribbing to stand out, so I'm going to just tug it a little bit. Just give it a little tug and stretch it, because then it's going to hug around your neck better. I have pinned it all the way down around the neck, and I stretched it a little bit as I went along, because I wanted to hug on the neck. And I'm going to stop pinning right now when I get to this point, this dot that I put in here earlier for the depth of the V neck part. And now I'm going to stitch starting from here and going all the way around. So where I began, and then I'm going to stop again at that point. All right, now I've gotten all the way around, as you can see, and I stopped and start right here at my V at the dot here. Next thing I will need to do is I need to cut this little piece here out, because then it'll give me my true V neck. And I can just take my hand scissors and just cut that out. And I will just follow right along the ribbing. And there. So I've got that piece removed now that we took out for the V neck. Next, what you can do to do a trial run, we can just flip it up and you can see what it's going to look like when we finally get done. But at this point, we need to try it on, because I don't know where I want to put this for sure. I did draw a line here, but we all have different shapes and figures and stuff, so we probably want to try it on to see where this falls across our body. And the only way you can really do that is to try it on, and then you can adjust it a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my folded ribbing and lay that raw edge right on the line that I had drawn, and now I'm going to pin this down. As I'm pinning this down, I do not need to stretch this. This is going to be laid down 1-to-1, because it's not being stretched around the neck like we did earlier. So I'm just laying it right along the line and pinning it down. And this sweatshirt does not have any side seams, and we would need to finish off this tail, would go in the side seam, but we don't have one. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to just cut it off generous for right now, because after a while I will just roll this in the raw edge, and when it gets flipped up, then it's going to be finished off and it's going to run even with the side seam. What I'll need to do is I will actually flip the ribbing up, and you can see how nice it lays in here. And then I'm going to top stitch about 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch right along this whole edge, and even around the other side. And as you see how that finishes off the neck here when it's stitched down right through here. Once it's all stitched down, then I can actually take a little bit of a stitch right across here so this doesn't come flopping up all the time. That'll hold it down and that'll finish off your neck and your V-neck. As I'm working through here, you'll notice I'm picking it up from the bottom because I want to make sure I don't stitch all the way through the back side of the sweatshirt. So I'm gently reaching underneath and just getting it out of the way. Alright, now that I have the ribbing on, the next thing I need to do is I want to top stitch it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to finger press my seam allowances all into the sweatshirt. And I have the nice convenience of this machine that I can actually take and move the needle closer if I want to by changing the stitch width. And if I move it over just a little bit and it's a little bit closer, I don't need to have it too deep. So like I say, you can top stitch anywhere from about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch from that seam where the ditch is. All right, now I'd like to finish off the bottom because I took the ribbing off, and so I've picked out this nice piece of fabric as a contrast, and it complements it. And you'll need two 2.5 inch wide strips of fabric. And what I did first of all, I sewed them together so they're one long continuous piece, and then along one edge you can either zigzag or use your serger if you have one and finish off the raw edge. Now to determine what size I need, I can lay the seam that I have here along the seam that I have here, and what I'll do then is I'll cut this a good 1/2 inch longer, because remember I have to seam this up. And once I get it seamed up, I now have a tube which I then will stitch on here. And once the tube is made, you're going to put right sides together and you're going to pin it down with lots of pins and match up your seams that you had in your strip here with your side seams that you had here. And then you're going to stitch this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I have stitched that band on the bottom, as you can see, with my 1/4 inch seam allowance. But in the book you will notice that there is a little divot they have in the front, and they also have it repeated again in the back. And to get this little rounded edge, I use my pocket former template set here. And I don't need this piece, but I'm going to use this one. And there's 4 different corners on here, and I'm going to use the smallest one. And on the directions it tells you from your top edge of your strip you should mark down 1 inch and put a dot, which is what I have right here. And now I'm going to lay this in here, and I'm going to take my fabric marker and I'm going to mark this. Now, even though I have already sewn this, I can put it back into the machine and start sewing up here and just kind of make it a nice little curve in here, and then go up over the mountain and then come back down again. Once you have that done, then you're going to cut this piece out. And I get close. I don't want a deep seam because then I got to nip into it. And if I nip into it, that's what's going to ravel out first over time. So you're going to have yourself about a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So go in here and get it trimmed out. There we go. And you can see this is what I have now. And I can do that with the back side also, because there's one on the back right here. And again, that mine's going to be 4.5 inches over from the seam. Once this is done, I would give this a good press, and then I'd like to also press it from this side so I get this nice sharp crease here, and I go with the fabric and the seam is there. And when I flip it up, this is what I have. Right, and you can see now that's flipped to the inside, and I don't want this to flip down now when I wear it, so then I would put the thread that would match with the bobbin, because I'll be sewing from this side, and I would sew down about 1/2 inch from this raw edge right here. Now that I've got it turned and flipped up, I'm going to top stitch it down in place so it doesn't fall down while I'm wearing it. There, now I have it all stitched up and we're ready to wear it. The treatment that I had used on the bottom, I also had used for my sleeves. They're a little shorter. I cut off 3 inches here, so then they are shorter. You can go shorter if you want to, or a little longer. It's up to you. You can do what you want. But that same technique that I had used in the hem is used here. And I can wear it down like this here. Now I have a contrasting thread on here so you could see what I did, but I would probably put in thread that matched my sweatshirt. Or I may do the other technique where I can fold it up a little bit and make a cuff and wear it that way. So either way is correct, and there's your completed sweatshirt, and enjoy it. Now I have showed you one way of how to transform a sweatshirt. This is one. If you purchase this book here, you have 55 more different ways you can transform your sweatshirt and have fun with them. Thanks for watching today, and if you like this video, hit the like button right below us here, and don't forget to subscribe.